Hey everybody, Derek here to bring another video for The Walking Dead Season 6. And what I'm going to do tonight is talk about, has Carol finally reached her breaking point, and can she come back, and what will happen with her? I'm going to talk about that a little bit. This is going to incorporate things from the past 6 seasons up through start to finish. So if you have not seen the mid-season finale, if you are not caught up and you do not want to be spoiled in any way, then exit the video now and come back later, because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay. So, one of the things that I've seen is that from season 4 to now, we've seen Carol going down this path that is a lot different from her first 3 seasons on the show. And we've seen Carol change, and part of that has been that, she's killed people in very controversial ways that, maybe you and I don't agree with, but that she's done it. From Karen and David to Lizzie, to the Lizzie Mika situation, to the people at Terminus, which I feel is justified, and many of us do as well, to killing the wolves, and up to, the mid-season finale, where when she found out that Morgan was keeping the Alpha Wolf as a prisoner, it, scared her, and it upset her, and she saw a threat and wanted to neutralize it. And when Morgan stepped in and said, "No, you're not killing the wolf, because I believe all life is precious," Carol and Morgan ended up fighting, a physical fight, which Morgan did overpower her and knocked her unconscious. And then, of course, the wolf knocked Morgan out. And, a lot of things that Carol has done, really, a lot of us may be wondering, well, why does she do what she do? Exactly what causes her to do this, and I've kind of been analyzing that a little bit and trying to look at Carol's character and to see what I think drives her forward. And I think a lot of that goes back to her days before the apocalypse. And I think that, each character's past does affect them in different ways. Carol's was a very sad past. She unfortunately was in an abusive relationship. She was with Ed, and of course they had a daughter, Sophia, and we saw that Carol was physically abused by Ed. Ed would hit her. Ed would, treat her like she was nothing. This was a very unfortunate, abusive situation, and as a result of it, Carol became, somebody who was very scared, fearful, who, was worried about, if I step out of bounds or if I do something that I'm not supposed to do, or I don't follow Ed, then I'm going to get hurt, and maybe Sophia might get hurt. But despite what was going on, Carol stayed with Ed. And just so we're clear, I am not judging Carol for that decision in any negative way. These domestic abuse cases are very, very complicated, so I am not in a position to pass judgment. All I'm doing is going on the facts of what's happened. And we cannot deny that Carol stayed with Ed, and Sophia stayed there as well. And, I think that a lot of that is something that she regrets now in the present. The fact that there was stuff going on in that relationship, Ed being abusive, and she didn't do anything. And even after Ed died, Carol was still, in general, a person who was still fearful, who was still afraid of anything, of everything, really. She couldn't kill walkers. She didn't have the ability to, fight, and really relied on a lot of the other group members to keep her and Sophia safe. And because of the fact that she didn't step up to, help protect her daughter, which again, I'm not judging her again either, just again going on the facts, Carol did not jump out from under that car and go down after her. That was Rick. And because she didn't teach her daughter to defend herself, anything like that, because she didn't teach Sophia how to kill walkers, Sophia was just as afraid as Carol was, and Sophia ended up dying in the second mid-season finale. And I think that a lot of that affected Carol and has made her into the person that she's become. Because as we saw in season 3, the 8 months in between seasons 2 and 3, I think that Carol really, reflected on the mistakes that she made in her own mind with Ed and with Sophia and all of that, leading up to Sophia's death. And I think that, it caused her to want to become somebody better. She became a fighter. She became a provider. And she was taking action, to help people. I think that she really realized that she needed to step up and she wanted to help. She did some practice on those, the walkers for when Lori was pregnant. She was practicing cutting open the uterus for the, C-section. She took initiative on that. The moment that she suggested to Andrea to, kill the governor, by making love to him, having him fall asleep, and then, stabbing him in his sleep, a lot of that, I think, was Carol taking the initiative and saying, I can't let other people, help me anymore. I need to be able to help myself, and I need to put myself in that position of being able to help others because I wasn't there when, Ed was doing this to me and I wasn't there for my daughter, Sophia. So I think that that really pushes her to be the kind of character that she was in season 3 and moving into season 4. We have Rick stepping back. We have, Carol and, several other individuals making up a council. And, we have Carol in a powerful position, somebody who is a leader, who is providing help for people. And then we get the virus. And what does she do? She kills Karen and David. Why does she do that? Well, we know that a lot of the reasons that Carol does what she does is for others, to save other people. She does care about her group. She wants them to live and thrive. Now, for her, the way to do that might be a different path than what maybe Rick would decide or Daryl would decide. And that's why she killed Karen and David, to prevent the spread of the virus. Now, of course, it was too late. It didn't work. And, that's why she did what she did, though. She didn't like it. And it's clear that she has never liked the killing. And that does set her, apart from people like the wolves, the cannibals, maybe even the governor. It's that she doesn't like doing what she does. She told Rick, I don't like what I did, but, I did it. And that's that. And I think that a lot of it is this motivation and this idea of keeping others safe. She will go to those extremes if it means keeping her group safe, which is why, she invaded Terminus the way that she did for her group members and killed a lot of those people in Terminus. Same thing with the wolves. She went on a war path, if you will. I mean, she probably killed about 8 wolves in that episode, if I counted correctly. And some of them were, again, like the one that was tied up. Other times, she shot him in the back. But that's just something that Carol is willing to do. She'll kill the threats, but it does take a toll on her. We saw that after she was banished by Rick, I think that a lot of that really hit her, and that's part of the reason why she was crying when that flashback happened in Consumed. Part of it was regret, because she thought she was doing the right thing, and people didn't appreciate it, like Rick, and just kicked her out. And then, of course, you have when she killed Lizzie, she cried. And that clearly, absolutely was something she didn't want to do either, but she could to protect Tyrese and herself, from Lizzie, because Lizzie was volatile. And then, of course, with the wolves, when she sat down on the porch and started to cry, you can tell she doesn't like the killing. But, I think it really is, to atone for what happened with Ed and Sophia. And I think that that is something that guides her along. And that also is why she treats children the way that she does as well. And I think that even going back to Lizzie and Mika has kind of influenced the way that she treated Sam later on in season 6. Because when we go back to season 4, you have Lizzie and Mika, who are two young girls, one who just doesn't have the ability to kill or, wants to, Mika. Mika really wants to be more like a child, have this innocence about her like Sam does, but it's just not realistic, especially when they're out there in the open. So you have Carol kind of encouraging Mika to learn how to shoot, to learn how to kill. And then you have Lizzie, who thinks that walkers are neat, that walkers are, still people, that we shouldn't kill them. They're interesting, they're fascinating, they can be trained. Are you crazy, girl? I mean, that's just not something that's realistic. But Carol stepped up, and tried with them to guide them on a better path to say, look, you need to do these things to survive, and if you don't, you're going to end up dead. But I think that in Carol's mind, she doesn't think that she did enough because Mika ended up dead. I don't think that in her mind, I don't think that she thinks she was hard enough on Lizzie and on Mika, to make Mika tougher, to defend herself. And at the same time with Lizzie, convincing her, look, walkers are not your friends. Do not look at them as anything except for threats, okay? End of discussion. She should have, in her mind, have been harder on her, but she let Lizzie continue to do these things without much of a reprimand, and I think that in her mind, she didn't think it was enough. So when we get to Alexandria and we get to Sam, and not just the threat that she made, but just the way that she's been treating him afterwards, I think that part of that is because, in her mind, she thinks that if she does this for Sam, that it's making him tougher. Because she didn't do anything with Sophia to make her a tough survivor. Sophia died. She didn't try, in her mind, hard enough to make Mika and Lizzie survivors, and they died. So now, with Sam, it's this attitude of, hey buddy, look, you need to quit your crying, get up and fight, because there are threats out there, and you're going to die if you don't, okay? Stop it. Stop being a kid. Stop crying. Stop letting it, hurt you. And, I think that Carol, unfortunately, has forgotten that Sam is, quote unquote, an innocent. The way that Tova Feldshuh on Talking Dead, the woman who played Deanna, put it, Alexandria was not idiots. They were not idiots in there. They were innocents. They didn't know what was going on. They were lucky. And there's different ways that you communicate things to people. And that's just in life in general. Some people, after a while, they do need a stern talking to. There are different ways of communicating. But I think that because Carol just sees Sam as any other kid in this apocalypse, it's made her forget that, there are people who have not had the level of experience that she does. And I think that that's part of the problem with Sam, is that she threatened him and it scared him, and that's part of the reason why when you saw him in start to finish, that he is this fearful young child who has had a very terrible couple of weeks. He's been threatened to be tied to a tree, and to let the monsters get him. His father is dead, and of course, his father being abusive, what he did to him, we don't know, but I think a lot of that really, hit home to him that people can die. And then you get the wolves attacking, and then now you get the walkers coming in, and Sam's not prepared for it. And Carol didn't go back and do damage control in the meantime, because it's clear that those words still haunt Sam. Why else would he draw that picture of himself tied to a tree with monsters around him? Hence maybe walkers or wolves, whatever. It's because those words scared him. And he is a scared child, and it's sad. And I understand why Carol did what she did, but I think she should have gone back and, really realized, and I think it's going to be too late when she does, that her way is not always perfect. Because I think that with the way that she's been, learning and the way that she's been surviving, she thinks that this is the way it needs to be. And I think that, for most of the time, it has worked. killing the wolves, killing the people at Terminus, killing threats, is something that she thinks is the perfect remedy. And with the wolf in particular, when she found out that Morgan was keeping the wolf, I think that she felt a couple things. One, I think it was a slap in her face. It made her feel like everything that she did in JSS was worthless. If we're just going to keep somebody prisoner, that's something that, is that really what we want to do here? And I do agree with her, especially with the wolf. If the wolf gets loose, he will kill. And even though Morgan wants to sit there and say, well, even if he never gets out, he still knows what he did. Well, first off, who the heck's going to watch this guy? Do we really have the people that can watch prisoners? Do we really have people that are going to feed this prisoner? Well, you have limited resources as it is at this moment. And again, with the way everything was set up, Carol was right. If the wolf got loose, he was going to hurt people. And we saw what happened. But, I think that the way that Carol went about it was wrong. One being, we got thousands of walkers outside, the house. They breached the wall. We got bigger problems. And I think that really what Carol should have done in that instance was just to try to restrain the wolf more. Like maybe if there were handcuffs or somewhere, not to just, have him his hands tied together, because that's all it was. But I think that really, Carol went about things the wrong way at the wrong time. But I think that her intentions, I can understand why she did what she did. But for her, it's really been, if there's a threat, you have to kill it or scare it. In regards to, you see people that are trying to kill you or people that are against you or could hurt somebody, you kill them. Because, let's face it, you kill a threat, it's not coming back, unless it's a walker, but, you get the point there. You kill that wolf, it is not going to hurt anybody else. That's a fact. But, since Morgan is keeping the wolf, you see Carol then start to say, oh, well, because of the fact that he's keeping the wolf, he's now a threat. Because he is providing the avenue in order to potentially get me or other people killed. That's, in my opinion, what she was thinking. And, if Carol continues down that path, then I feel like, one, it's going to destroy her, everything that she's done up to this point. It's really going to destroy her, and it's really going to make her look more like, going down a villain's path. You're killing the wrong people or people that may be innocent. And I think that really a lot of the things that Carol has done lately have been pointing towards her going too far. That she really has gone to this point where, she can't properly identify what to do with a threat. Yeah, she can identify threats, and yeah, that's clear. And threats come in all different, forms. Yeah, Morgan keeping that wolf is threatening in a sense. Morgan letting those wolves go in JSS, that's, that is a threat in a sense, but it's not a direct threat, it's an indirect. Morgan not taking that action, lets those threats get out, and look what they did. They tried to kill Rick. So I get where she's coming from, but I think that Carol needs to do some self-reflecting and really needs to start coming back a little bit. Because the way that she's going, it could be very harmful. And especially with Sam, if Sam does die in episode 9, it's not going to necessarily be Carol's fault. I'm not saying that. But if Carol finds that picture, I think that it's really going to destroy her, And I think that it's going to make her realize, I was too hard on this kid. And it pushed him to be scared. It was part of the chain that led up to him being scared and potentially dying. And the same thing with Carol, it did scare her to realize that she was willing to kill Morgan to kill the wolf. And I think that she does realize, wow, I would really do terrible things like this to keep people safe, and that's not okay. And I think that it really is a big defining moment for Carol that I think it's really going to, hopefully, in my opinion, open her eyes. She's not totally wrong, and I think that she needs to, take a step back a little bit and realize, yes, people like the Wolves, people like Terminus, they are threats, and they needed to be dealt with at that time. But Morgan's not a threat that needs to be killed. Morgan either needs to be, put in a different role, banished, or, some other remedy needs to be done. But you don't kill Morgan to kill a wolf. You don't do that, and I think that Carol realizing that, maybe her way is not the best way may allow her to step back a little bit and really get back more into a more appropriate role of identifying threats and knowing what to do, because she's really on the cusp of stepping over that line and not being able to come back. So I really hope that this experience will help her a little bit. But I do love her character. I do love the direction that she's going. And I think that this next half, hopefully will be an eye-opening experience for her. So with that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank all of you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.